Hey there, welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi K. Begay, and I'm a flutist, educator, coach, and podcaster. My God-given mission is to serve you. I am passionate about guiding you, the modern-day flutist, to discover your unique voice on and off the stage. The goal of this podcast is to help you thrive, both as an artist and as a musicpreneur. Go ahead and grab some espresso, your favorite notepad, and let's get to it. Today's episode 241 is titled Start a Flute Blog with Dr. Rachel Geier. Hey there, Flute 360er. You should have seen me and the kitties waiting in the office to record this intro. We were waiting for the garbage truck to go by, the washing machine to end its cycle. So I better record this and quickly before, a leaf blower passes by or the construction team goes through the neighborhood. So here we are. Thank you for tuning in to another Tuesday's episode. I am so blessed that you are within my Flute 360 community. Speaking of communities, we would love for you to be a part of ours. Go to Facebook and check out the Flute 360 Families group. It's a private group where Flute 360ers get to come together, mingle, and support one another. All you have to do is click the link below in the show notes, and it's that easy peasy. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to Dr. Rachel Geier. She and I were introduced about a year ago as we were thinking about our Ultimate Music Business Summit presenters for January 2023. And Rachel submitted a fantastic proposal on blogging, and I enjoyed her presentation so much that I wanted to invite her onto the show. She has become a good friend since then, and I would love for you to support her blog because her creative ideas and her expertise is unmatched. All of her links are below, and if you want further information on blogging, I also interviewed Hannah Hafley in episode 231. You can check that out through my website or through your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Heidi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Excellent. Well, I so appreciate you carving out time for myself and the listeners so I can pick your brain.
Awesome. I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Nice. So I don't know if you saw a past episode, but I got to speak with another flute blogger, and her name is Hannah Hafley. Are you aware of her?
Yes, I have. I think I even reviewed her blog on my blog. There was a post I did recently about the best blogs, and I think hers was one of them.
There you go. That's a full circle moment for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And just so the listeners know, this just goes to show you the life of a musicpreneur. Rachel was so kind almost a month ago to come onto 360, but I had to postpone our talk because TMEA was right around the corner, right? And I was doing plans for that, and Rachel was so sweet to extend our talk until March because I was super busy with the convention. And now, 30 days later, let's just say, just like Rachel, schedules and everything are just as hectic, and this is the first time that I'm podcasting in my vehicle.
I love it.
We're
multitasking.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, shoot. No, I really appreciate your flexibility and all of that, and we get to learn a lot along the way, right?
Yeah. Of course. That's what it's all about. It's all about connecting and learning from each other. And I talk about that on my blog a ton. Like, I think people are getting sick of me talking about it on my blog because I think we need more opportunities like this to share ideas in just like a non-threatening way where like it's not about competition, it's not about who gets what chair, it's just about sharing ideas.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yes.
Yeah.
And you bring up a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. Like a lot of our music culture, right? And maybe some studios in some colleges or universities, or just the nature of being a musician, that competitiveness is ingrained in our being.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, competitions are good for certain things and that's great, but to kind of maybe not dismiss competition, but to not make it such a priority in career building or, you know, anything that you're building for yourself, because post-graduation, like where Rachel and I are, if you're competitive, you're not going to get very far because there's enough to go around. Like Rachel's followers or my followers or Hannah's followers, they're going to resonate with different content creators in a different way. And there's no reason to be competitive because we can all learn from one another.
Yeah. And what's great is we're creating those win-win situations when we do that. Like we all have our own little niches, but when we combine them, it's even better. So like right now, I am working with Heidi to combine our two niches under one thing. And it's making this beautiful podcast for you all. But it doesn't just stop at that. Like I've done product reviews where I combine my blogging skills with somebody's awesome new product, or I invite guest bloggers, and it's just great. It makes more opportunities to create something new. Like we all have our own thing, and that's great. That's wonderful. But when we pool it all together, it's just magical what we can create.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's wonderfully said. And just kind of going back to what you said, you reviewed Hannah's blog. And you know, kudos to both of you. You guys are both in the same Flute blogging arena. Both of you could have easily said like, oh no, this is mine and I'm going to stay in my little corner and Rachel is my competition, or see it that way. But I know Hannah's heart and I know your heart, and just being like, hey, let me review your blog and cross over that bridge and come together as colleagues and as partners and collaborators, rather than being like, oh no, I'm going to stick to my corner, you stick to yours, and stay over there.
It just, again, it creates win-win situations. Like if I review Hannah's blog, I tap into her readers and her readers tap into mine because I'm linking to her blog on mine. So we're kind of expanding our readership by working together, which it's a win-win. And so I'm always trying to find those win-wins when I work with other people. Like, how does it benefit them? How is it going to help them? And how is it going to help me? Everyone gets ahead. It's almost like everyone is getting first chair when you think about it that way. I mean, maybe that's my millennialness speaking, but I like it that way. I like it that way.
Yeah, I like it that way too. And I think you and I are probably older millennials. And,
yes, exennials. They call us exennials.
Exennials, yes. I resonate with that sub-generation so much. And you're right on the money. And just seeing your answer and hearing your answer, it shows so much maturity. And I respect your answer because you led with, how can I help them?
Yeah.
Right? When you can like lead with a heart of servitude, then you will find that win-win. And when you go to ask, you know, Hannah or myself asking you or another Flutes podcaster, like, hey, let's collaborate, let's partner together. If you put the other person's needs first, then it's not going to come across this like scammy or gross or inauthentic. It's going to come from this really genuine place.
Yeah. And it should always be genuine. Like in my genuine opinion, I think it should always be genuine. We don't want to see each other suffer. Like, I mean, that's one of the pitfalls of competition, is sometimes it leads to that kind of mentality. And I will say, back in the day, I had that mentality before I really knew what I was good at, what my niche was. Before I knew that writing was my thing, I fell victim to that competition. Like I have to beat this person, and I can't share things with this person because I need to get first share. We can't work together. I fell victim to that. And it wasn't until I started writing and just like thinking about better ways to be a musician, or to be part of this flute world that we're in. When I say better, I mean like more positive ways that help me, help others, help everyone, to create a better world instead of like just focusing on who gets what chair or whatever. When I started writing about this kind of mentality, everything changed for me. I stopped seeing flute playing as like this hierarchy, and instead it's more like a world, like we're all part of the same world.
That's really interesting that blogging taught you that, because podcasting has taught me that too in this digital space. Because when you interview a Rachel Geier or a Hannah Hafley or Elizabeth Rowe or a Kathy Blocky, what I learned is we're all flutists, but we all have our own niche. And even if like Kathy Blocky, who's like a flute entrepreneur, right? And somebody who's invented gadgets for the flute, somebody else in the same niche, like Hans Kut, who created Le Freak, or Ho Fan Lee, who created the thumb port. They're all flute inventors, but they're so uniquely designed that they still are separated by their very special and unique characteristics. So then again, there's no competition. So after going through all of these different interviews, 200 plus interviews, that's what podcasting has taught me too.
That's amazing. I'm so glad we came to like the same conclusions, just following our niche. And look at how many ways we can collaborate with some of the people that you mentioned, like Le Freak. I actually have a blog post planned to review a Le Freak. Like here we go, combining our niches. And I'm talking about it on your podcast. So look at how we combine things. And all of this is a win-win situation for everybody. So I wholeheartedly like believe in those win-win situations. It just creates just like I said, magic. It makes us a more positive industry to be in. It makes people want to join us. If we have our special niche, we have what makes us special, but we also have all of these opportunities to combine our specialness with the specialness of others to create new things. I think there are so many opportunities for like positive collaborations like that. And I frankly want to do more. So anyone who's listening out there, if you want to collaborate with me, just let me know. Hit me up, send me a message. Like I am down. I love to collaborate with others.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. It's so funny to hear how you and I are jumping into this conversation right off the bat. I haven't even had a chance to introduce you, and that just goes to show you that, no, we can always go back. But no, it just goes to show you that literally we are both content creators by nature, and we want to like bring value to our listeners and to our readers first and foremost. And so I think it's so great, like our synergy is just locked in so tight, and there's momentum to our talk where we're just showcasing our passion and our love for blogging and podcasting right off the bat. And I haven't even had a chance to be like, hey, this is Dr. Rachel Geier. And but no, there's no whoops. So we get to do whatever we want because it's our platform for today. But I do want you to share with the listeners, if you'd like to. I would love for you to share with them your musical background and things like that. And I can ask more questions about blogging post your origin story.
Sure. I am like the songs say, I grew up on a tree farm, so I'm a tree farmer's daughter. My dad still likes to change the word of Loretta Lynn's famous country song. What is it? Coal miner's daughter.
Oh yeah.
My dad he still walks around the house. Whenever I visit him, he walks around the house singing Tree Farmer's Daughter. So I grew up in the middle of nowhere in northern Idaho on a tree farm. Music wasn't even like, it wasn't even in my brain until we all go to sixth grade and we all pick an instrument. And so that's when it really started. Actually, I take it back. My grandpa had an organ that I taught myself how to play, and that was really fun. But my flute story starts in sixth grade, like everybody else, pick an instrument. And the only reason, I love to tell this part, the only reason that I chose the flute, because I wanted to play the clarinet. Honestly, to God, I wanted to play the clarinet.
Really?
Yeah, but my best friend wanted to play the flute. And I didn't want my best friend to be learning the flute by herself. So I I begged my mom to get me a flute. And she went down to the pawn shop. I mean, we're talking about northern Idaho. We're talking about in the sticks. She went to the pawn shop and she picked up a Bundy, an old Bundy for $100. She said, okay, we're just going to learn on this. If you like it, we'll get you something else. But we're going to play it safe for now, because kids change their mind, right?
Yeah.
Kids all the time. So that's where I started. And I really, really liked it. And in the early days, like most of us, I wasn't all about competition. I was like, oh, this is this cool thing that I really like and I understand and I can express myself. Like it's something completely new. So I just ran with it. I really loved it. I learned a lot. I excelled. I went to middle school and high school like we all do. And I just really loved it because it was something that was unique for me. Like I knew I liked writing then, but I didn't know like it was a niche until way, 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 way later. But my niche at that time was playing the flute. So nobody thought I would do anything with music. They just thought, oh, she's really good at it. Until I started winning competitions and I went to Interlochen and I did all these things. And then in high school, they were like, okay, so she's going to be a flutist. I was like, yay, okay. So I did all of the things. I did All-State and whatnot. I went to college. I got my degree from DePauw University in Greencastle, Indiana. So I went from one rural place to another rural place. So I got my bachelor's there, and where I studied with Anne Reynolds. And then I went to San Francisco. So that was the end of the rural chapter of my life. I went to San Francisco for my master's and I studied with Linda Lucas. And then I went to Minneapolis for my doctorate to study with Emmanuel Davis. And that's kind of my story. I got my doctorate there. And then I moved here to Davis, California, because my husband was getting his PhD in comparative literature here. And we kind of haven't really left. Like we took a sojourn to Houston because he had a postdoc for a year. But then we ended up coming back to Davis. And I just really love it here. I love the vibe. I love California. Beautiful weather, nice people. And that's where I am. You know, I live and work. I have a full-time job at UC Davis, but I also teach, I write, I do all the things. and that's me in a nutshell.
That's amazing. I think you are the first guest to have been born and raised on a tree farm.
Like Taylor Swift, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Oh, shoot. No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And you've hinted at it before, but just to kind of bring it full circle, how did your flute blog come about? At what point did you say, oh, I want to emerge and marry my two passions, like writing and flute music making together?
That's a great question. And it was really like many of the things in my life, it was an accident. Okay. It was a happy accident. So when I got my doctorate and I moved to Davis, I was doing what we all do when we get our doctorates, when we have our DMAs in our hands. I started applying to jobs, and the blog was just sort of an extension of my CV at that point. It was just a way to like show, like maybe talk about what was in my dissertation and talk about a couple of other areas that I was interested in. But it was really like my audience at that time was anybody that was looking at my job applications. I was not advertising widely. It was just something like if somebody did a Google search for me, they would find that and they would be able to read that. So I only had one thing in mind, which was jobs, but there were no jobs out there. There was very few. I mean, I'm sure you went through this too. There was very few, and very few people were getting them. And it was kind of disheartening. Like I did all this work and I don't have a job on the other side. What is going on? So I just poured some of that energy into my blog, and it sort of erupted from there. Like I had the first blogs, I remember the first blogs were observational blogs. So what I mean by that is I would watch a YouTube video of somebody playing, like Jasmine Chua, for example, or like James Galway, or just some famous flutist playing something. And then I would put my observations in writing. Like I would do maybe a bio about the piece that they're playing, and then I would talk about what I noticed in their performances. So like good things that we can learn from, but also some other things that maybe I would advise against, or not advise against, but because that sounds negative, and it wasn't negative. It was more like something to think about, really. Like, here's how they do it. Here's some other ways that you could do it. And I remember Jasmine Chua actually found my blog about one of her performances.
Yeah.
And she posted it. So it went viral.
Wow.
This thing that I only meant for like people looking at my CV to see was now being shared by a whole bunch of flutists everywhere, because she posted about it on her Facebook page. Wow. And so that was kind of like, oh, I have the power to have a readership. Like there's something bigger out there. This is not just for people looking at my CV. This could be for people picking up a flute anywhere in the world. So that was sort of like the moment that it clicked, like, oh, this thing that I like doing can reach others. So I changed it. I found a way to post consistently. So instead of just posting randomly, like every week or so, I was posting on Fridays, and I called it Flute Friday, and I still call it Flute Friday, but I got some consistency. I began to write about things that interest me, of course, or things that I've found along the way. Emmanuel Davis likes to talk about the toolbox of stuff that we have as flutists, like things we can rely on, tips and tricks and guidelines and stuff. And so I would talk about the things in my toolbox.
That's amazing. There's actually, it's so funny and so eerie in a great way. Your path and my path with podcasting and blogging is almost identical.
That's so funny. It's funny to hear you say that, because I remember I was preparing for a blog at one point, and I was referring to an article that I had done in the Flute View. And you and I posted, or we had articles at the very same time on the very same issue. Yeah. And our faces are right next to each other. I'll send it to you. I did like a screenshot. Yeah. You and I were in the Flute View the same month, the same volume. We're right next to each other. So it's kind of eerie, right?
Oh, and here we are, probably a good 5 years later.
And we can thank Viviana Guzman for that, because she's the one that took our article. Another great collaborator in my life. I love this woman. She has been great. So, and here we are. Is it 5 years later, 6 years later, and I'm still doing it.
Wow. Yeah, so here we're talking about a flute blog, a flute magazine, and a flute podcast.
Yep.
You know, and what you were saying earlier with like the beginning origin story of your flute blog, it being basically like a CV builder, right?
Yeah.
That was Flute 360. I was like, oh, well, if I put out weekly episodes, that would check off the boxes, you know, on our CVs of like publications or creative activity. So there's got to be like a search committee out there that would go, oh, wow, look at this. It's different, right? Podcast episodes. And then you're right, like going through job searches, there's not many flute tenure track professor jobs out there. And if there is one that pops up, right, every now and then, it's highly competitive. But what podcasting has done for me, and it sounds like what blogging is doing for you is that it's opening up other doors. And yes, it may be like an untraditional way of going about it, but I get to be fulfilled creatively and financially by finding these opportunities, and my podcast creating these opportunities for me because I'm putting people in my circle, in my orbit. And then from that, from creating those authentic relationships, opportunities get unfolded throughout my life.
That's incredible. That's exactly the journey that I took with blogging. Yeah. I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's a good crazy because we're making something new. We're not doing what the norm is, which is get a tenure track position and play in an orchestra. We're doing something completely different. Yeah. And I think that's how we're going to keep our industry fresh. I think it's how we're going to keep it creative. I think that's how we connect with each other. There's nothing wrong with doing it the traditional way. Right. There's some people that resonates with, but I think what we're doing is so different and so. I'm thinking about innovative? History. I'm thinking, innovative. Exactly. That's the word. I should send you my drafts of my blog so you can help me with these word choices.
Anytime.
Love it. But isn't that how genius is created? Like you do something completely out of the box. You create something completely out of the box, like Mozart. Like he wasn't just doing what everybody told him to do. He was the rebel. Yeah. And maybe we're being rebels, but we're being creative rebels, which I think there's a true value in being a creative rebel.
Ooh, yeah. That's going to be today's episode's title.
I love that.
Creative Rebel with Dr. Rachel Geier.
Yes, please. I love that so much.
Perfect. So I'm curious though, do you think, this may be a bold question, and I have an answer, and I think I know your answer, but I don't want to assume. Don't you think, though, that this creative rebelness is going to be the new norm?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Because, I think with our generation and the generation below us, and even the generation below that, I think we're all looking for new ways to do things. Like we're the old traditions, the old ways, I think they have a time and a place, but I think we're moving towards something else right now, something a little bit more sustainable and something a bit more positive. Like we've all been a little traumatized by trying to be in the rat race, trying to play the same excerpts and the same pieces and do the same things. Well, maybe not traumatized. Maybe we're just kind of, we're burnt out of the same old thing. We want something new. We want something fresh that not only creates win-win situations for us, but also with other musicians, with other industries, perhaps with just others. We want to bring more people together. And we have the technology right now to do that. Like I'm sitting here in Davis talking to you in, I believe, Texas, about things that resonate with a lot of people. So I think if we rely on our technology and rely on these new relationships that we're creating, I think we can take the whole industry in a new direction, which is, it's positive, it's encouraging.
Oh my gosh, yes. So that basically means whenever I'm having a down day of being that creative rebel, by shifting the music industry, I'm going to have to call you for you to be like, yes, Heidi, keep going. You're on the right path.
Yes.
Because by forming new paths, right, by you paving your own path, by you showing others and leading by example, do you ever feel a little lonely at times because you are that creative rebel?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Are you a flutist frustrated that your instrument doesn't accurately represent your artistic voice? We hear you. Not owning an instrument that will showcase your musical abilities and let your creative voice shine through can be frustrating. Let us help you change that. At the Carolyn Nesbaugh Music Company, we have a team of flute specialists who have been working in the industry for decades, and they have the knowledge and the skill to help you find your dream instrument. They have a wide selection of piccolos, flutes, low flutes, and head joints to match your creative needs. To help you find your perfect instrument, call the Flute Shop at 972-985-2662 to schedule your flute trial today. Or visit their website at fluteforyou.com, where you can check out their instrument selection online. Follow the Flute Store through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter for the latest news and updates. The Carolyn Nesbaum Music Company is truly your one-stop flute shop.
I like being a creative rebel. It's like in my blood. So
okay.
It takes a bit of courage to go against the norm. It takes a lot of courage to go against the norm. And sometimes, doing that puts you outside of the box. Mm-hmm. It's very warm and comfy inside the box. We know what to do. There's structure. When you're outside of the box, you are responsible for the structure. So you've got to, you kind of have to be your own CEO in a lot of ways when you're doing something new. Like, how do you want to do it? How do you want to structure things? Like for me, how do I want to structure my blog? I'm going to post once a week. I'm going to bring in these type of collaborators. I'm going to talk about these sort of issues. And I have the structure in my mind, but within structure is creative freedom. And so I think you have to marry the two things. Like, you kind of have to be your own CEO, and you have to think creatively, and you have to have that courage to go against the grain.
Oh, completely. So outside of being courageous, what other piece of advice would you offer somebody who wants to go the untraditional route?
I would say follow your niche. Like, if you know what it is, that's great. But I say experiment with a bunch of things. Like, if you're playing orchestral auditions and you're like, something doesn't resonate with me, that's okay. Like, that is the piece of advice I want to give, is that's okay. Find something that resonates with you and run with it.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. 100%. And I couldn't agree more. Like, you definitely need that piece of courage. Like, to have courage to step outside the box, that is very much needed. And what I'm hearing you say too is find things that align with you and your life and what you're passionate about.
Exactly. And you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised that there are people like you, who I'm talking to right now, that really understand that, and that will be there to help you. You're not alone. Mm-hmm. It feels like you're alone sometimes when you're forging this path, but you really aren't. There are people like me and Heidi and Heather and all of these great, and Viviana and all of these great people who have done just that. They've followed what they resonate with. They followed their passions, and they created something completely new and amazing. And so you're not alone. You have the courage, and you have support, whether you know it or not. You are not alone.
Yeah. And speaking of support, the one piece of advice that I would offer, since we're talking about this, is like, with that element of being courageous, be courageous to reach out to your support system. Like what Rachel just said, like, you're not alone. So figure out who are the doers and pull them into your orbit. So case in point, like, I'm developing and forming a mastermind right now, so that way I, as an innovator, so I don't feel alone. Like, other music podcasters, hey guys, you're my friends, you're my colleagues, let's form a mastermind, so that way we have a team, we have a support system. So my piece of advice for somebody who is paving their own path is, like, hire a music coach, kind of like a Rachel or a Viviana, or somebody who's done the thing that you want to do, but then maybe create your own support system. And that could look like a mastermind, and meet like once a month, so that way you can encourage one another.
That is fantastic. I really love that.
Yeah.
And again, look for opportunities to collaborate. Like, if you're doing something and you're not really sure if it's the right path, like, find somebody who you can pool, like whose talents you can pool, and they might help you. Like I know Heidi has helped me by showing me the Ultimate Music Business Summit. So I had a great time, Heidi. That was fantastic.
Oh,
But
thank you.
I gave a presentation there, and again, creating those win-win partnerships. Like I was able to share my knowledge and tap into other platforms and work with Heidi and work with all of these great people. And it just really helped reinforce that I am on the right track for me. Like this blog and writing, this is right for me. So just reach out to, I know it's scary. And I've done a lot of reaching out to crickets and it's okay. Crickets are okay. Find somebody else. We have a really big community. There are a lot of us doing a lot of cool new things. Reach out to somebody else. It's just an email or a text or a direct message. You'll be surprised.
Yeah. That's what I've learned through podcasting too, is like people have such huge hearts. Like of the 200 people that I've asked to be on the show, only 2 people have kindly declined to be on air with me. Think about
why would
that.
Anybody?
Oh,
why would anybody decline? You're awesome.
Oh my gosh. That's so sweet. They only declined because their performance tours were like crazy busy. So
okay.
I just bring that up because it just shows like what you're saying, Rachel. It is so true. Like people are so hesitant to reach out because I think they are under this impression like, who am I? Maybe imposter syndrome gets in the way a little bit. Like, who am I to reach out to Dr. Rachel Geier? But what I've learned through podcasting is everybody loves serving one another in our music community. And I have rarely received crickets or rarely received, and they do happen, or rarely received no's, right? Because people are so willing to share what they've learned, to share their expertise in such a giving way that it blows my mind every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel the same. It's amazing because, we're all kind of, when we're auditioning, we're all like in our little zones, like, oh, we can't talk to these other people. We have to just focus on our thing. But when we're not auditioning, it like opens up the curtain, right? It opens up the magic curtain of the flute community. And that's where I want to live. I want to live outside of the magic curtain.
I love that. Yeah, for sure. And since
I think that could be a blog post, outside the magic curtain.
Boom.
See, we've already come up with so many good ideas, just you and I talking.
You're set for the rest of the academic year.
There we go. Yes.
Oh, shoot. And since Rachel brought it up, I want to bring people's attention to her amazing presentation through the Ultimate Music Business Summit, or AKA UMBS. You can go to musicsummit.biz, and our founder, Dr. Garrett Hope, is now uploading videos to our website, and you can purchase like video packages or like individual videos. And Rachel did a great segment on how to blog. And so if you want more in-depth knowledge about blogging, she goes through like a 45-minute presentation on that very topic.
Yeah, that was a great opportunity. I have to thank you again. That was fantastic because I talked in this presentation about SEOs.
Okay.
And I will tell you, I knew nothing about SEOs before I started doing this presentation.
Yeah.
And what I learned is I was already organically doing some of the things that that are involved with search engine optimization. And that's what SEO stands for, is search engine optimization. I was already kind of organically doing these things. And so it was great. It was reinforcing that, but also giving me more ideas for how I could get more readership or use keywords or, little things that I could do to tweak my blogs a bit more so that they're a bit more user friendly. And so they show up on Google searches easier. But one of the things that really stuck out to me, and I'm going to drive this home again, I think I've said it a million times, is that in my research for SEOs, they talked a lot about creating win-win situations, posting links for other people's pages or other people's content, posting links to products, posting, sharing others' sharing blog posts, like like I shared Hannah's blog post, like here's the best blogs, just like Brett Pimentel shared my blog posts. And I found that really interesting, that that was part of search engine optimization, is creating collaborations with others.
Yeah, those external links are really good to boost your SEO.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to what you said about like how your blog has organically evolved over time, from the standpoint of being also a content creator myself, I know that like pursuing my podcast from being a resume builder versus like being a marketing arm, shining a light onto my product suite are two completely different worlds. So I'm sure the same is for you. Like you started your blog saying, okay, I'm sure some search committee out there is going to really like my pedagogical view on this or that. But then as it evolved to being your own door opener, right? Creating your own opportunities for your career, how has your perspective changed, or how has the way you sculpt the blogs, how has it changed from those two worlds?
I am far more creative on my blogs than I was in the beginning, because I was thinking about the audience in the beginning. So I thought, okay, my only audience here is going to be people reading my CVs, which are search committee people, which are probably professors. And so I kind of wrote to that audience. I used big words. I used really technical language. But then I shifted, like once I started doing those observational blogs, and Jasmine posted, like that was like, oh, you know, I actually have something that I can say, and I don't have to worry about the haters, right?
Yeah.
I just focused on being creative. It just opened that creative door where I wasn't too worried about like Professor so and so at University of Timbuktu. Like I was less worried about what they thought, and I was more thinking about what I could bring to the larger community, like what I could share. Some of my favorite posts are some of like my more metaphysical thing, or like, you know, when I'm sharing bigger ideas and bigger concepts, not just talking about like what ornamentation to use or how to do this etude or whatnot, but when I'm talking about more theoretical things like the magic curtain, or I had a good one, the myth of the magic formula, which is what we're talking about right now. That was one of my favorite blogs because I thought about my own experiences, and I thought about how, you know, growing up, I always thought there was this magic formula to have a flute career, and that was orchestra position plus tenure track position equals flute career. But I learned through this blog and through getting away from that competition mentality that it's so much bigger and broader than that. There is no magic formula. That's not the magic formula. The magic formula is whatever your magic formula is.
Yes.
And for me, it's blogging. Blogging is part of my magic formula.
No, I love that. Because again, I resonate so much with your story, and it's like so eerily aligned with my story, you know, because again, like my audience in the beginning was my search committee, or not my search committee, but my dissertation committee, right? Making sure that I can check off the boxes that I did the research to graduate with that DMA. And then it was checking off the boxes for that search committee on the job panel for them to be pleased. So I wanted to, you know, make them go, oh yeah, like this is great research for our industry. And it had those outcomes. So like that was my biggest aha moment when I was pivoting into the podcast, being a marketing arm, shining a light onto my product suite and treating it more like a marketing tool for a business. Being a student versus being a CEO using a podcast in those two different worlds is completely different. Because if you treat it like an academic thing, you're going to get academic results. But the minute I pivoted to saying, no, this is more of a business thing. If I'm going to create my own path, it needs to look like X, Y, Z to get the results that I want to get from the business side of things, right? And so like my aha moment was like, oh, if you plant corn, you're going to get corn. But if you plant wheat, you're going to get wheat. But in the beginning stages of my pivot, I was still planting corn. I was still planting academic seeds, but I was wanting wheat. I was wanting an ROI. I was wanting business results, but it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, it doesn't. And so it's just so cool to hear how, like, yes, blogging and vlogging and podcasting, these are different mediums, but the same mentality and the same story and the same approach can be found through whatever digital space you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can combine those two. You can combine to create win-win situations with others. I just think that's fantastic.
Yeah. No, I love that. So if there is, since we're talking about these different mediums, right, and your world is getting to write and blog, if somebody was wanting to start their own music blog, what advice would you give them?
I would say write about what you're passionate about. Don't write about your dissertation or don't write about the things that are on the path. Write about the things that are off the path. And what I like to tell people is start out with 10 ideas. Like, just sit down. You don't have to write the whole blog, but just think about 10 blog ideas that you would like to post. Like, start there. And then pick 3. Pick the 3 that you're most passionate about, and roll with those. Roll with the first 3 and do some research if you can, but just roll with the 3 that resonate with you. Don't think about your audience at this point. Just think about what resonates with you. What are you passionate about? What can you write about forever and ever and ever about? And then put your own creative spin on it. Don't just write about, like, I don't know, ornamentation in Bach sonatas or something like that. Write about what you think about ornamentation in Bach sonatas. Write about your experiences playing ornamentation in Bach sonatas, and write about maybe something that you learned from one of your teachers or from a masterclass technician about that Bach sonata or ornamentation. Like, write about the things we can't read about on a Google search.
Because it goes back to what you were saying earlier in the conversation, and that is what I think our flute community is craving is the innovative ideas, something new, because there are some horses that have been beaten to death. Like, if I read another article on performance anxiety and the the top 5 things to cure performance anxiety, and there's deep breathing, yoga, and meditation listed again, I think I'm going to scream. Because it's been done over and over and over again. And I'm not, like, bashing anyone who has written such an article, but, like, it's time for something new and something fresh. And you have to, like what Rachel is saying is, like, offer your own perspective, because you have a very unique perspective and a unique thumbprint, right? And only you can voice those opinions in your own unique way. And so you're right, because like what you said, Rachel, the minute you stopped writing to appease, right, a committee, and you started voicing your own opinions, that's when the magic happened. And that's when the magic happens through Flute 360. Like, the minute I stopped trying to make academia and the academics happy, and I started listening to my 360er. What are they going through, and how can I uniquely help them get from point A to point B? That's when the magic really happened for 360, because that's when the listener will come and say, oh my gosh, how you expressed how faith, I get to be very open about my faith. I'm not preachy or religious in any way, but from time to time, like, my testimony will come through and be sprinkled throughout my story. And that's when listeners actually hit send or actually hit reply to a DM. That's when they say, oh, you mentioned that story, or you mentioned your testimony here, or your faith here. That resonates with me because ... That's when the conversations start for me and for my listener.
Absolutely. We create these environments that make it safe for people to share their experiences because we've had the same experiences, like you and I.
Yeah.
We're creating a space right now to share that Yeah, we struggled with the norm. We struggled with the magic formula that wasn't
Yep.
magic. And that's how we created something else. And we're doing it in a safe place where we're not afraid of some committee listening in that's going to not
Yeah.
like invite us to an interview or an audition. Like, we don't care.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. We're making it safe for others, for everyone.
Yeah. I'm so beyond that. It's funny because like I will have music friends of mine from past degrees send me a Facebook DM like, oh, hey, I saw this flute job, posted through higher ed last week. Are you going to apply to it? I'm like, I am so done with that. And lovingly, I'm like, nope, not for me. And it's because it's so crazy because I am, and we are on this untraditional path in creating our careers in this unique way. I don't think they realize how good I have it over here on this side of things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so it's
absolutely because we're
back,
happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, going back to what you said, Rachel, and you said it so beautifully, like, I'm paraphrasing, so correct me if I'm wrong, but what I heard you say was like, you get to shape your career in a very creative and unique way where you get to experiment. You get to be curious and say, oh, kind of like how you design your actual individual blog article. How do I want to shape it? What does the outline look? What do I want to say? And then magnify that to like a career level, like bigger. That's a micro example, right? But macro. How do I want to shape my career? Who do I want to work with? Where do I want to work? Can I can I take on this opportunity at UNT today? Oh, well, that means I'm going to be podcasting in my car and talking to Rachel off of the highway.
And Rachel's cool with that because she has a job too. Like, we understand.
Yeah. So it's mind blowing to me how the industry is changing. And I think we have to, as these like modern day musicians, we have to be flexible and adaptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So speaking of being flexible and adaptable, any words of advice that you would give to a modern day flutist? Like 360ers, for example, they always come to me with this pain point of, I want to create new opportunities for myself, but I don't know where to start. So I think being adaptable and flexible is a good trait to have under that umbrella. Would you offer anything else to that listener?
I would also say reach out to people that might connect with your idea because they can help you. They can give you ideas of other places to look or how to structure things. Just if you could create those collaborations from day one, I say run with that. And again, we're not alone. Like they can DM me if they want to. Like, we're not alone.
Yeah. Oh, and case in point, what happened last week? I had a coaching call with an amazing young woman in California, and somewhere along the conversation in her coaching session with me, I said, you know what? You need to reach out to Dr. Rachel Geier. And I started up a group email, and you responded probably less than within the first 24 hours. You were quick. And, all it took on my on my end of things was to say, hey, Jane, you need to reach out to Rachel. Rachel, this is Jane. Go for it, ladies. And that's all it took. It took 30 seconds for me to set up that group message. And from there, now Jane can pick Rachel's brain, and who knows what can come out of that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just as easy as that, like you're saying, 30 seconds. And it took no time for us. We have a Zoom, I think, either this week or next week. So we're gonna chat. But it was that easy, like you're saying. It just takes an email.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. Amazing. So as you know, Rachel, sometimes at the end of conversations, I always do a little segment through Flute 360 called Picks. Do you have a pick for the listener today? It could be your favorite thing, anything under the sun. So it could be your favorite book. It could be your favorite app, movie, jam, anything.
Oh, this is hard. I'm trying not to be self-promotional right here. I'm trying to be creative.
No, you can be self-promotional.
I mean, okay, it's collaborative, promotional. I love the Flute View. I have been writing with them forever and ever. I think Viviana Guzman is amazing. my pick is to go read the Flute View, because I think they are doing a lot of things that you and I have talked about today. They're including articles that are off the cuff, they're new and different and amazing, and make you think about flute in completely new ways. So I would check out the Flute View. You can, I think there are past issues online as well, but the fluteview.com, go take a deep dive.
Nice. No, that's great. And I think their monthly subscription is completely affordable.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's like $1.27 a month or something like that.
Yeah, it's super cheap and it's worth it.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Lots of
awesome.
content. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, and thank you so much for letting me pick your brain, but I love your writing style. I love how educational it is with your unique perspective, and I really thank you for the contributions that you have made for our community.
Well, thank you so much, Heidi. And same to you with Flute 360. I think this is fantastic. I think it does do the things we've talked about, creating collaborative win-win situations. And I think it's fantastic. So thank you for having me on the show. And thank you for having this podcast.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. Hey, Flute 360er. Thank you again for checking out this week's content. I really hope that the content has served you well. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at heidikbegay@gmail.com. And feel free to reach out to Rachel if you have further questions about blogging. All of her information is found below. And last but not least, I want to give a special shout out to some Flute 360 listeners. This includes Samantha Goes, Paula Mims, Bob Bender, Amy Lykar, and many other listeners for shouting out the show through your tribes. I see you. I appreciate your support. Thank you for sharing it with your friends. If you are an avid 360 listener and you know that the content has been blessing you, it has been helping you move your needle forward, whether in your playing or in your career, can you do me a favor? Can you share today's episode or your favorite episode with a flute colleague, friend, or student? Thank you. I so appreciate it, and many blessings to you as this week unfolds. Talk to you soon. Let's talk about flute.